After a slow start, soybean harvest is in full swing.
We've had as good as upper 60s averages, and we've had as bad as 45 averages. So I would say, all in all, this year we're pretty happy with how things have turned out.
And Michigan Farm Bureau's Policy Recommendations Report is ready for debate at next month's annual meeting. I'm Janelle Brose, and this is Farm News 5.
Farm News 5 is brought to you by Ford.
After a slow start and some soggy weather, farmers are back in the fields harvesting soybeans. While this year's crop likely won't break any records, it is shaping up to be better than expected.
So it's October 20th. Typically, we're a bit further into harvest by now. We've had lots of rain, and that's made field conditions not good, and beans don't want to dry down. So there's been a lot of guys I know that have went into the beans when they're a little wet and just dried them. We decided to switch to corn, and we ran corn for a while until the weather straightened out. So now we're back in the beans and trying to go at them and get them done here before the weather changes again. These beans today that we're combining are 2.8. With the season the way it was, these later season beans, I thought that there would be a big difference between those and like our 1.6s. However, the yield has been very similar between the varieties, so we're not seeing a big difference. We are probably a few days from being done with our Roundup Readies, and then we're gonna clean out combines and go to our non-GMOs after that.
Some soybean growers had an opportunity at the end of September to get some early soybeans harvested, but most growers were kind of stuck waiting for maturity of soybeans, and then the rains came and they took off most of the first half of October waiting for fields to dry up and beans to dry down. But now that we've gotten through that wet period, there's a lot of soybean harvest going on. In a lot of cases, we're seeing very good yields. In some cases, we've seen the results of a very dry summer and some reduced yields in some places. But overall, I think most growers throughout the state could say that this crop is turning out to be a little bit better than they expected that it would be with the tough conditions we had this summer.
The Michigan Soybean Promotion Committee is devoted to investing soybean farmer checkoff dollars to address grower concerns. We focus our efforts on production research, market development, and outreach. Learn more at michigansoybean.org.
Michigan Farm Bureau's State Policy Development Committee was in Lansing earlier this week, and after reviewing hundreds of policy recommendations from the 65 county farm bureaus, the policy report will be considered by voting delegates at next month's annual meeting. And joining me to discuss the report is Andy Hagenow, Kent County farmer and committee chair. Andy, thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Janelle.
Tell us again a little bit about the policy development process and how you get to this point in the process.
Well, all the counties take part. Each county has a policy development committee. Some do it by districts, some do it by regions, and they develop the policy that is considered here for the entire state. And this committee receives all those resolutions from all the counties and then decides how it all fits together in our current policy book, and blend them when we can and take what's relevant.
Is there anything new this year, any new issues that have come up?
There have been a lot of new issues. That's the great thing about being a grassroots organization. It's not always what you expect it would be, but yeah, there's some new ideas. Actually, there's not one big overarching issue this year, but there's a lot of tweaks to current policy that we look at this week.
Are there any policy issues that have garnered more discussion than others as you guys are working through the process?
It's pretty level. I mean, a lot of our work as a committee is done in subcommittee and then brought to the full committee as a whole to discuss. We've got a great committee this year, and they have a good time challenging each other, so it's a pretty constant thing throughout the meeting.
So after this week's meetings, what happens next?
Next, the report from the Policy Development Committee will go to the delegate floor at the annual meeting in Grand Rapids.
All right, Andy, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome, Janelle. Thank you.
With Farm News 5, I'm Janelle Brose.
Harvest season is a prime time for accidents. Educate your operators before they hit the road. Check out available resources at fosterswift.com/ag transportation.
For more news and video, visit MichiganFarmNews.com and the Michigan Farm Bureau channel on YouTube. With Farm News 5, I'm Janelle Brose. Have a great week of farming.